this. Alrighty, thanks everybody for showing up today. This is the 6th now in the 8-part webinar series. And today we're going to be talking about online ad programs that work. So why would we want to consider paying for ads online? And the main reason is you may have difficulty, especially as a new business, trying to generate ads strictly using free resources online. Maybe you've been utilizing every free marketing platform at your disposal, but you haven't seen the increase in sales and or action that you'd like to see. Organic content can only get you so far. Whoops. Sorry, I'm going to let someone in here. Can only get you so far. As algorithms change to make room for more paid opportunities, there's no better time to start testing and experimenting with paid online advertising. So rather than relying strictly on organic content to drive visitors to your landing page or website, paid marketing channels allow you to target advertising based on your audience's demographics, certain keywords, their search intent, or more that we'll be discussing. Paid advertising helps you get in front of customers who are already searching for what you have to offer. So how you will craft your paid marketing strategy will depend on a few different factors. So one might be what your current business goals are, how much profit specifically you're looking to drive, what your current advertising budget is. And really the great thing is you don't need $10,000 or more to get started with paid advertising online. For as little as just a few dollars a day, you can utilize select marketing channels with different kinds of paid ads. Others may require more of an upfront investment, but many can be really adopted into any ad budget. And we'll be talking about a lot of those types today. There we go. So paid advertising will show the effectiveness of your messaging. So it's kind of like a little test to see if your branding and your messaging strategies work. With paid advertising, you're able to really get quick feedback on how effective your message is. And you can do this through the myriad of analytic tools that most ad programs offer you. The numbers won't lie. Paid ads will help you understand what your customers want to hear from you. The other thing to keep in mind is that free marketing channels really never are completely free. Even if you aren't traditionally paying for organic content, you're distributing through other marketing channels. You may be paying per se a freelancer or someone to handle your social media. And this can also reduce your own time to work on other things related to your business. So you have to factor that in. With paid ads, you can get started with a one-time investment to create ad copy and imagery before you run split tests. So once you put each version of your ad into action and test them, you can see which ad actually performs best. You can continue to use the same ad with different segments of your target audience. So once you have a really great ad set up, you can actually get a lot of longevity out of that one ad rather than trying to come up with almost daily organic content. The other thing to keep in mind is that the free channels that you may be using can really change at any time. So if Google wanted to completely change the way it ranks websites on its platform, many of us who've been optimizing websites for search engine optimization will find that our results suddenly take a downturn. This is also true for social media marketing channels like Facebook and Instagram. So this doesn't mean that you shouldn't use the channels, but rather focus on having a holistic marketing strategy that doesn't make you susceptible to the changes that might happen in those free environments. Another reason why it's important to invest in creating a website and starting your email list, like we've talked about in subsequent webinars, is because you actually own those channels and that content. You want to use both of these areas when you're diving into your paid marketing strategy, because most of your ads are going to point to these two mechanisms. So once you have your paid advertising goals and a base level budget of where you think you might be able to start at, you can start brainstorming and researching what paid marketing channels may be your best fit. So today I'll start talking about breaking down some of the most commonly used types of paid advertising marketing channels that use paid acquisition while sharing insights into each different program. So the first is Google. Since Google, as we all know, is the most popular search engine by far and the largest driver of traffic on the internet, it really isn't surprising that a lot of people choose Google as a place to run their ads. Google used to be called AdWords. Now they've kind of shortened it down to just Google Ads. And it aims to connect their users to the very best search results so that the users keep coming back. They do this with organic search rankings, but also by offering pay-per-click services and advertising opportunities for advertisers of all sizes. So when we look at pay-per-click ads and what are available, there's two that are really the most popular. You can create a Google AdWords campaign that allows you to place ads on a desired search engine results page, depending on the keywords you want to optimize your paid ad for. So these ads specifically are the ones you often see if you type in hairdresser or salon, say in Medford, Oregon. You'll often get the very top results are actually paid ads. So those are search-based ads, pay-per-click ads that you can actually purchase those keywords and appear on Google. Then below that, you'll often see the business listings. So I would call it the yellow pages of Google. You'll see, and that is Google Business. And it shows a map with various locations. That's actually a free program to participate in, and it's definitely the ones that you want to get listed on. But if for some reason you end up on, say, page 5, 6, or beyond with the Google search results, one way to guarantee that you're at the top of the search is to actually use Google Ads to appear there. Probably if you own a business, you've gotten a myriad of calls from different ad companies that claim to get you on the first page of Google. Most of the time, unless they're talking about organic SEO, that's how they plan to do it, is basically pay your way to appear at the very top of the search results. So you can also advertise your offer through Google Shopping. So if you have a product, you can actually get those listed in the Google Shopping results. So if somebody's looking for a specific product, those are often the first results that come up in the search engine. It's an easy setup option that allows you to highlight the product with a photo thumbnail and a direct call to action to buy the product. Also, if you have an e-commerce store with one of the big CMSs we talked about like last time, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, any of those types of engines, they have connections that you can actually connect directly into your Google ad account, and you can auto port your products directly from your store into the Google Shopping Network. So that makes it really easy and seamless to be advertising there straight from your website, so you don't have that double entry issue. So the Google Shopping is also called a product listing. And this differs from the traditional text ads that pop up in Google at the top. It can be a great fit for retailers and e-commerce shop owners who want to capture that sale quickly and also get your product out in front of folks that may not otherwise find your website. So how do you advertise on Google? So since so many consumers are coming to Google and they're already there to buy something, it really makes sense to make sure that advertisers convert users where they already are searching. So now the question becomes, how do you get yourself to rank well and show it more prominently in Google Ads against other competitors? So to do this, it comes down to a few different factors. So keyword competition not only affects the price that it's going to cost you for those pay-per-click ads, but it also affects how your paid ads will be chosen to rank among your competitors that are buying those same ads. So there are hundreds of, say, wedding photographers or graphic designers wanting to advertise on Google, and maybe they're all trying to buy the exact same keywords. So how does Google decide which ones to show? So one of the factors is your quality score. So the quality score can have a big impact on how successful your pay-per-click ads can be, because it directly affects what the cost of your ads are going to be to you. So quality scores are affected by the relevance and accuracy of your pay-per-click ad, along with your website's overall user experience. So Google's going to take into account if you set up an ad, if you're a wedding photographer and you set up an ad, Google's going to want to make sure that your website is really very highly rich in relevance to those key terms. So if you have, say, a photography business, maybe weddings is only a small part of it, and you're running the ad just to your homepage, Google may look at all the other content you have on the site and consider it not as relevant as if your site really dedicated itself to being a wedding photographer, if that was what your ad keywords are. So there's different ways to do this, especially with landing pages, but that is one of the factors that contributes to your quality score. So when you have these factors working together and you have a really strong relevancy, you'll come out on top of your competitors with a higher quality score. Some of the quality score can also be influenced by the relevance of your click-throughs, meaning visitors who click through your ads find what they're searching for, and so they interact with your ads more frequently. Google tracks all of this history. It also looks at the history of your previous Google ads and account performance. So if you're a new account, you're going to have to take a little while to climb that ladder. They're, like we said, going to really look at that landing page quality, and you don't have to drive those ads directly to your homepage. You can also set up landing pages within your site that are really dedicated to that particular product or service that you're pushing your ads from. And then it takes into account a variety of other factors that are always kind of moving and changing a little bit. So it does take some massaging and looking at what their top categories are at the given time. So it's really, AdWords work effectively as a long game approach to increasing your quality score, but it will help you also not only to optimize your ad campaigns, but it's really going to help you with your SEO as you search engine optimization as you hone in on some of these strategies. Okay, so what is the cost per click? So Google charges based on ad clicks. So if your ad is showing up on the search results, somebody clicks on it, Google's essentially going to track that and charge you for that user click. So the cost per click is calculated, this gets a little tricky, by your competitor ad rank divided by your quality score and then adding 0.01 to the total. And that's how they come up with your cost per click. So the average cost per click sort of universally right now is about $2 per click, which is pretty significant, but it really depends on the saturation of your industry and the competition of your desired keywords, and also where you're trying to sell. So if you reduce your geography down to a smaller market areas, that cost per click will potentially go down. The audience amount will go down as well, but especially if you're a local business, mostly serving local customers, or you're able to niche, figure out where your target audience lives predominantly, you can actually target a little better where your ads appear, and that'll end up costing you less. So when you're ready to create a Google ad campaign, you'll be setting up what's called a cost per click, CPC, bid. So this means that multiple competitors will be bidding for the same keywords, so that Google determines a cost for each competitor in order for them to secure top placement. And as you're in the Google AdWords Manager, you can go in and actually set up a mock ad to see where your numbers might lie. So as you type in your ad, you type in your Keywords, Google will also suggest a number of keywords based on what you already plug in there. Google's going to tell you some different data. So it's going to say which keywords there are available and how much they will cost you per click. It'll also give you volume estimations. So it can actually pull in and let you know how many users in your geographic area that you're targeting search for those specific keywords and phrases every single month. And so that can really help you decide which keywords you want to use and add to your ad campaign just based on how much they're going to cost you. So a few different types of Google ads beyond what we've just talked about. Google ads really are not all the same. There's some that are better for certain products and services than others. So it's important to know which will work best for you. And you can experiment with each type and see how successful they might be. A good way too is to just go online and do some search and see what your competitors are doing and using. And that may give you some ideas on where you want to start. Search ads. So these are the ones we've talked about that appear at the very top of the search results. They may or may not be a good fit for every product. I've seen these do really well with offers, with certain specific products that have a certain price where you can beat out a competitor by displaying that price. I haven't seen huge results for these for typical service-based businesses unless you have a really great offer. But it is a great way if you have a new website that's not ranking well to appear at the top of the page and get some of those clicks regardless. Another program that Google has is Smart Ads. So when you start, sign up for a Smart campaign, you'll write an ad that describes your business. You'll also choose your keywords and your ad budget like we talked about. And it's a really quick way to get started. So the ad, pretty much in minutes, will automatically show up for customers across many different Google channels, including Google Search, Google Maps, YouTube, Gmail, and Google partner websites. We'll talk about what those are here in a minute. But your ad can show up to potential customers in your geographic area for search related to your business or Google Maps, which is a big one. A lot of people use those Google Maps as their yellow pages these days. So your ad can also show up for people who are outside your neighborhood if you specify a larger geographic area, but who include terms related to your business as well as your business location in their searches. So that's a really quick way to get started, especially with local search. Another program they have is video ads. So now, as we talked about last week, with over 500 million hours of video watched on YouTube, there's a lot of people in that environment. So it's becoming a lot more popular to run Google ads on YouTube. They also force feed you, so you have to watch those ads before you can watch the content you're looking for. So Google ads connect customers from all demographics to advertisers who have something to sell. Video ads allow you to create really engaging visual content that helps you stand out and be more memorable. So it's a little more fun and interactive than the Google display ads. The Google search ads, which are basically just 3 lines of text in your link. By using the video ads, you have a lot more creative freedom. It's a short ad, but it allows you to really visually get out in front of your customers. And then the last product they have is Google display ads. So if you're a content creator who owns a website, you can actually turn it into extra cash by monetizing your influence with display ads. So these advertisements show up as a banner image, and they create a really interactive and engaging experience on any website that Google partners with for ads. So this is a great way if you've got a website with a lot of traffic. Perhaps you don't even have an e-commerce site. You just have a business or a collaborative website. You can actually run Google ads, allow them to appear on your site, and make dividends each month, depending on how much traffic and clicks you can generate. A note for certain industries: if you're a supplement-based company or cannabis or hemp, Google does not, and Facebook both don't allow ads to be purchased for those industries on their sites at all. So this makes it a little tricky. However, Google does allow those industries to sign up for display ads. And so if a website has agreed to allow that kind of content on their site, you can actually run ads through some of these partner sites. So that's a nice little workaround that wasn't known a few years ago even. Okay, so some top tips for your Google Ads. Setting up an account is pretty easy. You just, if you have any kind of Google account already, Gmail or just an email you've used to sign into Google products, that's all you need to get started. Then you just go to, you can just Google AdWords, click on the link. Once you're inside the platform, you'll see a bunch of different options that really help guide you into starting your first ad. One thing I would suggest is start with what they call low competition, long tail keywords. So what is that? If you start with keywords that aren't highly competitive, because competition drives up the cost per click price. So the higher cost per click, the more you're going to be paying for your ads. So the more you can really niche into specific longer phrases or keywords that may be a smaller bit of the market share, but one that's underutilized, you won't pay as much for those ads. If you're testing your Google ad program, you'll want a good sample size to help you analyze the trends and see how well your ad is performing. If you choose highly competitive keywords that already have a lot of interest, you may want to go after a long tail keyword. So long tail keywords are 3 to 4 word phrases that specifically speak to your ideal customer and what you're selling. So if you've started a mom's blog and you've got a lot of tutorials on how to do the same, instead of buying the keywords blogging full time, you could say something like blogging for stay-at-home dads. If that happened to be your primary target identified in your marketing planning. So the competition is going to be lower, allowing you to have extra room in your budget to experiment a little bit. And they make it really easy to set up multiple ad sets within Google AdWords. And that's a great way to test. So if you've got an idea of something you think is going to be a great ad, it makes sense to set up 2 or 3 variations of that ad. And then after a week or so, you can start looking, after you compile some of that data, see which ones are performing the best, and then knock that are not performing well. And that'll be a good test also for you to take that refined ad content over to Facebook or some of the other ad channels you might be using as well. So a few more tips. Choosing your ad copy and imagery is really important. With the standard text ad, you'll want to spend time testing and tweaking your ad copy until you get that high conversion rate. The first line you write may not always be your best one, and that's okay. So it's good to spend some time thinking through that and looking at your competitors, what they're saying. Are they leading with a price or not? Your imagery also really matters, especially in display ads, which are like banner ads and video ads. Your imagery is the first and most important thing that the audience will see. So be aware of your visual branding guidelines and keep elements consistent and cohesive, like we talked about before. And being really clear and relevant is important. And almost all of the ad programs now allow for ads with movement. So it could be simple movement, it could be an actual video. Those tend to catch the eye and allow you to tell a little bit longer story than a static display ad. So definitely something to think about investing in if you're going to be putting forth a decent ad budget. The quality of your creative is really going to be really determine a lot of the success of your program. Another tip that you can use, which is pretty interesting, is the utilization of negative keywords. So if you're buying, negative keywords can actually have a really positive impact on the performance of your ad campaign. So when you create a list of negative keywords, you're essentially telling Google that you don't want to show up in certain search queries from users who are also searching for something else entirely. So a good example might be the word glasses. If you don't specify any keywords and you purchase the keyword glasses, your paid advertisement, if it's say for Rita wine glasses, it's also going to start showing up next to eyeglasses. Or shot glasses. So that creates a lot of confusion for the user, which hurts you as the advertiser and the experience overall, and could potentially get you clicks for users that are really not looking for your product. So you can actually put in a whole list of negative keywords into your ad campaign, and it'll probably serve you well. So another thing you'll want to do is optimize the landing page that your keywords jump over to. So essentially your ad is going to have a link in it. And what you're hoping is that the user will click that link and drop over to likely a page on your website. So driving traffic from your paid ad traffic to a dedicated landing page is the best way to convert your visitor. This is because you're able to tailor the imagery, the language, the message for that very specific audience and that specific offer. So you could test and tweak your ad copy, but if you're not testing your landing page as well, you might be missing out on conversions unknowingly. So a good way to test this too is to look at your Google Analytics report and look at your bounce rate. So if people are clicking, using the ad to click over to your landing page, but then they're bouncing, they're essentially leaving within a few seconds, your landing page is probably not doing its job. So here's a few questions that you're going to want to ask yourself about that page. Does it have a really clear call to action on the landing page? Is it easy to find that call to action, or is it at the very, very bottom of a long scrolling page? Does my image tell the story of the offer? Is it a relevant image? Does the color palette and typography match all of my branding guidelines that I've set up? Does the copy really speak to that ideal customer? And in your ad set, you've essentially targeted a specific customer. So you want to make sure that the landing page copy speaks to that group. Does my copy address my customers' pain points before offering the solution? So that's sort of the marketing typical story. Solution is here's what your problem is, and here's how my product will solve that in so many words. If you answer no to any of these questions, you might want to think about a few things before you just go out there and start spending money on your ad program. So another thing that's become a great marketing tool in the last few years is called remarketing. So if you've ever thought about buying a pair of shoes only to find a few days later that you see an advertisement for that same pair that you were looking for a few days ago, I think when this first came out, we all thought it was a sign, but it's really not. It's actually called remarketing. So the truth is that marketers are tracking who's been searching, what your buying habits are, and now we can actually market our products and services directly to the users who are interested. So by clicking on their offer and expressing interest, you might find yourself targeted by the retargeting campaigns. So why do companies spend time remarketing their products to people who've already searched for them but didn't necessarily buy anything? It's typically easier to convert somebody who is already aware of your brand or your product and has interacted with your offer in some way than somebody who's brand new. And there could be a myriad of reasons why they didn't purchase it immediately. We talked a little bit about in the marketing planning your sales funnel. And some people, for certain products, it really is a multiple step process before they actually purchase. And research and observation is a big part of that process. So remarketing can be very effective when it's used wisely. Definitely seen it work for e-commerce shop owners who use the abandoned cart feature we talked about in the last couple webinar. So that can tie into your e-marketing strategy and also your pay-per-click advertising. It can be utilized for virtually any kind of business, the remarketing. What you do need to do to get it to work is that you'll need to get a snippet of code from AdWords and place it on your site. So you'll be able to do this in the process of setting up your ad. And then it essentially, when you add the code to your website, it sets up lists so that Google knows exactly what the visitor has to do, has seen or done on your site before it triggers your ad on another page. So if you've signed up for display ads or search ads, Google can essentially see that that user, that IP address, has visited your website. And so then it's going to trigger your appear for them in other places that they are on the internet. So it's a really, really effective tool that's been created in the last few years. So so that's kind of the big overview of Google Ads. The next area I definitely want to talk about is social media paid advertising. So while you continue to produce potentially consistent social media content that's on your business page for free, you really want to think about, if you're a business, about ways to monetize your brand through social media paid ads. So Facebook advertising, like we talked about before, there's 2 billion active users. It's really become quite an advertising animal. It's hard to scroll through your newsfeed without seeing some of those ads appear. So with so many ads being shown, we'll talk about here in a minute how you can help make your ad stand out. Then there's also Instagram advertising, which is also owned by Facebook, so really easy to do through the same interface. Now that Instagram has rolled out Instagram Live and Instagram Stories, which are video-based ads, potentially, we're starting to see a lot of increase of those on that platform. With its unique features and highly dedicated audience, Instagram paid advertising is still kind of in its youth. Facebook has really been using this for quite a while, and it's sort of the king in terms of that, but we're starting to see it grow into Instagram a lot more. So with Facebook ads, the key benefits of Facebook for business in general, and I'll talk first about ways that you can actually use some of their free resources, and then how you can use those same to capitalize on the paid ads versions. So the platform allows you to really target users with very specific interests and characteristics so that your posts are seen by the right people. This makes the big crowd on Facebook feel more intimate, which helps you be more successful with their ad strategies. If you enjoy creating video content, you'll especially love Facebook since videos is really becoming popular on their platform. Videos continually get the most engagement are the ones that are prioritized in their home feed algorithm. So if you produce a video ad that's just a lot of people are interacting with, you have that potential growth of your ad to go much beyond even what the predictions are. So Facebook algorithms too have changed significantly over the last few years. I've watched this happen as an advertiser on Facebook with organic post engagement at an all-time low. You need Facebook ads to boost your posts in order for them to even reach your audience at all. This isn't how it started out, but it's definitely how it is now. So in the last few years, Facebook has shifted their attention to creating also better Facebook groups and Facebook Live functions. And all these new features have helped Facebook evolve over the years. But it's also changed the way that you can interact and advertise with them. So really the reason why you need to advertise on Facebook or use some of their paid programs is that if you create a business page, you may be wondering what else you can do, because only about 2 to 6% of the people who like your business page are going to see your native content. So that's every time you post. Likely that's the metric who will actually see it, even though they already like and engage with your page. So now it's really they're sort of forcing you in a lot of ways to use their paid programs to really reach a bigger audience. But the good news is, for a small investment, you can really increase that reach rather significantly. So one thing you could consider doing that a lot of people don't think of necessarily is starting a Facebook group. So if you want to use Facebook as a place for community, starting a Facebook group may be a great place to start. So instead of having your Facebook posts feel like a monologue of your business, you can create more of a dialogue with a Facebook group. So I've seen really successful cases of this with essential oil groups, a yoga or a shred group, people all partaking on a similar journey at a similar time. That's a great way to set up a group and get some interaction. So if you have a niche market, you can certainly set up something like that. And it's good to do some research and make sure there's not a really similar group already there. Or so you can put a different slant on the group. But those are becoming really popular. And really virtually every niche is represented by Facebook groups now. So before you feel like there's too much saturation, think about what's missing and try to tailor your group to that. So if you find some kind of differentiating quality, you'll have an easier time attracting members with that difference. So going live on Facebook, another great way to deeply connect with your audience is to record yourself through a Facebook Live feed. You can record a Facebook Live feed from your phone or desktop, and it can be accessed through your business page or your Facebook group. Live videos are especially attractive because they're known to be viewed 3 times as long as a normal video post. And now 1 in 5 videos on Facebook is actually a live video feed. We saw this, I've seen this successfully for businesses, but also it's utilized as news now. A lot of the news stations are actually using Facebook Live videos in their live feeds. So what should you use the Facebook Live video for? You could do a behind the scenes look at a typical day in your business life. You can show off a creative environment, or maybe a warehouse, or something in the creation of your product. You could share a lesson you learned that you heard somewhere else. It could be, like we talked about before, slightly off topic, but still relevant to your target audience's interest groups. You could pull back the curtain a little bit on something new that you're working on and introduce it before it hits the marketplace. All of those are great items to consider attracting some attention with the Facebook Live. So now how you actually run an ad on Facebook. So even if you're a small company or a solo entrepreneur, you can run a Facebook ad really on virtually any budget. You can set a max budget so that your ads never exceed a certain amount. So that's a really nice thing to do. You can also pause your campaigns at any point in time. So if you decide you don't want to run it or something changes financially, you can always just turn them off if you're not committed to it. You simply decide who you want to target with the ad and then select the action you want them to take. So it kind of helps to understand the metrics behind the different options they give you. So one option they give you is engagement. So this refers to the ad set will do its best to try to get more likes, more comments, or more shares from your audience. You could base it more on reach. So this is kind of how many people have seen the content of your business. So this, if you choose this as a goal, it'll get in front of a larger number of people, whether they take an action or not. Impressions, this is also how many times your content has been viewed. This can account for the same person seeing it more than once. So if your goal is just impressions, that would be that category. And then conversions is another option. So if your goal is to get someone to convert, that means you wanted them to take an action. So it could be signing up for an email list. It could be clicking on the link from the ad. A good example is for the Applegate Wine Trail, we use almost exclusively Facebook boosted ads with video content to promote Uncorked, one of their annual events. And I choose the conversion goal within Facebook because essentially we want people to click the buy tickets link and purchase a ticket. So you just kind of have to think through, are you just trying to create brand awareness, or you're selling something specific? Or with events, conversions is often a good tool. So a lot of online businesses are relying heavily on Facebook ads because of how effective their ad program platform really is. This is because business owners can target potential customers who have already visited their site through what's called a Facebook pixel. So this is similar to the remarketing. You can actually put the Facebook pixel on your website, and then all of a sudden that user starts seeing your ads on their newsfeed. And I think I know I have bought products this way just because it came in front of my face one more time. Others target people who are interested in their competitors or similar interest groups. So there's a lot of options. In terms of some of the ad tips, you'll want to make sure that you have these items ready when you create your Facebook ad, somewhat similar to the Google ads, but you have a little more freedom with Facebook. You'll want a headline. So this is kind of like a headline of a newspaper statement. You have a very small window to grab their attention. This is the largest text that appears in the advertisement. So chances are if somebody's skimming your ad, they will read this before they're going to read the body copy. So this needs to be the most important message. Try to keep it short. It really needs to be no more than 25 to 30 characters. And it's good to keep in mind that people are probably going to be reading the ad potentially on different devices, mobile and desktop. And Facebook gives you a lovely preview area as you're creating your ad, where you can toggle between the different environments and see how your ad is going to change depending on which media it's viewed under. And you can actually make tweaks per media. The newsfeed link description. So Facebook recommends a newsfeed link description that is no more than 30 characters. You can use more text than this, but 30 characters is a lot easier to see the copy on mobile without being cut off. Your body copy, this is the main bit of copy you'll really need to work on. You have lots of real estate here, but you really want to use it as best you can, thinking that people won't read too large of an ad, but make it descriptive as possible. And then you also have your image and or video. So this is really where people's eyes will be focused. So picking something that stands out, but that is also relevant to your ad is important. I'll show you a screenshot here. This is actually through the portal of the Jacksonville Inn, but this is kind of what it looks like if you've never created a boosted ad through Facebook. So essentially on every post, you'll see that there's a little button that says boost. So the easiest thing to do is to just click the boost button. It takes you into this screen. If you are boosting a post versus setting up something new, it gives you this preview. So this was the post that we created, and this is how it would look. You'll notice a little sponsored link underneath it. This is what tells you that it's basically a paid ad or not. And then as you go through the algorithm, you can choose to have a button on your ad. So it could be sign up, view our menu, order to go, anything you want it to say, and it can link anywhere you'd like. You can use this special ad category if you have especially now. They didn't used to have this, but they have it now around politics. I have a feeling most businesses won't need to use that area at all. The next area is your audience. So this is where it gets really interesting. You can click in, and so for example, it's defaulted to an ad program we'd had before, where we're targeting basically people that live in Jacksonville, Oregon, within a 5-mile radius, that are between the ages of 18 and 65. So you can narrow down or change that audience in any way that you want. It does do it by a mile radius, so you can expand that radius as much as you want. For example, when we're running the ads for Uncorked, we often expand all through the Rogue Valley and Josephine County, so that people potentially see it. The other option it gives you in the audience details is you can choose different interest categories. So this is where you can really drill down on that target audience. So for example, with the wineries, we often choose the qualifier of wine or wine tasting or interest in wineries. And then anybody who has liked a winery page, interacted with a wine event, then they get tagged in Google's algorithms as being having a wine interest. So then we can actually market directly to those folks with our ad. So it makes it a lot more effective than just kind of throwing up the net on the whole audience. And then once you plug in all your criteria, then you could plug in a budget. So let's say in the next 2 months or a month and a half, I want to spend, $800. Then it'll tell me essentially how many people I'll reach and what the daily budget would be to do that. When it gives you the reach, it's actually going to give you a range. So it might say anything from you're going to reach between 5,000 people and 20,000 people with a budget of $800 for a month. And the reason that it gives you such a range is that depending on the quality of your ad or the performance of your ad, Facebook doesn't know how popular your ad will be. So if you get a lot of people liking, sharing, engaging with the ad, then all of a sudden all of their friends and people they're engaged with will also see their comment or their interaction with your ad. And that's really what starts driving up those numbers. So having a really effective content and image is going to hopefully boost you to that higher end of your ad performance. And so it's definitely gotten a lot trickier over the early part of the years when we started selling Uncorked tickets. We could spend very little and reach a huge audience. We sold 700 tickets, I think, in our first go around, which was enormous. And then now we have to double our investment and hopefully get close to 500. So it's a lot more, there's a lot more people in the marketplace on Facebook, but it's still extremely effective when you look at other forms of advertising. So just a few words about other places you might consider advertising online. I really wanted to focus on the two big ones today, but other places you could have ads. And ad meaning just a listing and a link potentially on associations websites. If you're part of any of those, making sure that your business is listed there. They also may have display ad opportunities on industry websites that you might be affiliated with or might want to be affiliated with. So there's often opportunities that you can have an ad placed on those sites. Usually if you go to the bottom of any website like that, there's an advertise option or link, and that'll get you into generally a media kit that you can look at and see what the cost of the ad and the requirements are. Businesses and chambers, if you're a member, making sure you have your ads on there. You can also think about submitting articles to local publications. Maybe that'll earn you an ad. Locally, BRIT and OSF, depending on your target audience demographic, offer advertising opportunities right on their site, and they're some of the highest traffic sites, along with Travel Southern Oregon, Travel Medford, Jacksonville also all have ad opportunities on their sites. And then any partner companies, so any vendors and or companies that you might associate with or share like products with. They may have opportunities to have ads on their site, especially those can be really effective if you know that their target audience is the same as yours. So it's always good to potentially explore opportunities like that with other partner companies. And then through your Google Analytics, which you should have on your website. If you don't, it's free. You essentially add a line of code to your website and you can view who's trafficking your website anytime you want. And you can see what referring sites are essentially linking to you on a regular basis. And that really will help you with these types of opportunities to see where you're doing the best at. How to set your budget. So this is really important, but it's also really tricky. One thing you want to ask yourself is, how much is a lead worth to your business, and how frequently does that lead turn into a sale? So understanding that this metric is going to really help you be successful. The value of a lead and how often it turns into a sale is, and I'll show you an example here in a second. So if you're going to sell an online guide, for example, for $19 that teaches people how to knit sweaters for dogs, you have a free email opt-in offer called 9 sweater templates to make your dogs the belle of the ball. So you have two actions there. And here's how you might convert the equation. So 40% of people land on your landing page and they sign up for the free 9 sweater templates. So this is essentially, they've signed up for your email. Percent of the people that visit your page sign up for your e-list. Then 10% of those people that opt in for the email list also buy your $19 book. So that means, running the math, that 4% of the people that visit your opt-in page become buyers. So from a high-level sales funnel look, we can determine the following. So if you spent $1.90 on your new email opt-in, you would break even. That's 10% of $19. Or if you spent 76 cents per page visit, then you would break even, which is 4% or $19. So that's how you can kind of think about what you need to spend, and also testing the effectiveness of, am I reaching these goals? So again, about before, there's really no single number you can recommend when it comes to online ads. But if you know what your sales funnel conversion metrics are, you can figure out at least what you can afford to spend. So if you can afford $2 per lead, which is often the Google ad click rate, then spend $400 to $500 and see if you can generate opt-ins at that metric. But maybe you find out that your ads generate per lead. So if you find that you can make $1, you spend $1 to make $2, if you can convert the lead, then that's a good indication that you should really keep advertising all day long. But if your ads are not generating the $2 that you need, you might want to turn off those ads that aren't working and potentially explore some new audiences or new places to advertise. Because if your conversion numbers, you're able to make faster decisions and spend less money on testing if you have some of these metrics in mind. But it will take some practice and some trial and error to figure out. So just a quick little homework, some things you might want to consider as you get ready for online ads. Really doing that funnel we just talked about, writing down your conversion numbers. You can get some of these from some of your organic traffic if you have Google Analytics on your site, looking at how many people are visiting, how many people are buying. You can also look at it as sales calls if you aren't selling a product online. How many inquiries are you getting via your email list? If you don't have enough organic traffic or sales, it's really just trying to find other ways to get that data, like I just mentioned. So start your ads and have a clear idea of what the target cost per lead is that you need to be successful. And just the last thing I'll mention is that advertising is really like gasoline. It's sort of the you can't put lipstick on a pig comment, but if you pour gasoline onto an unlit match, you'll just have a soggy match. But if you pour it onto a lit match, you can really generate an inferno. So that's really what drives success of online ads. And with that, I will turn it over to Alana from the library, who might want to give us a little information related to this topic. Let me stop the share for you.
Hello.
Okay.
So,
and I really have to turn that on. Okay.
Okay, so we'll dive into some library resources related to what we've been talking about. And again, so I will always introduce you to how you can find more information, and that might be by talking to me or by searching our website, depending on how comfortable you feel with your own search. So under research, business and investment is right here. To the right, you'll see contact information. And then as we were listening to Laurel, I did a little bit of searching. So if you're curious about some of the background information on Google, you can find that at the library through one of our many books. So also I wanted to take a look at what Google has to tell us about their own SEO information. So they have guides, and sometimes those guides are more or less helpful depending on how well you can surf through jargon and that type of thing. So the library does also have some information to help anybody who's searching for live tutorials, anything that you can listen to a person speaking instead of just reading it online. So, and this is just from a search engine optimization keyword. And you can look through and see what feels the most relevant to you and what works best. So I wanted to also take a look at Google Analytics for marketing. So this is one specific course that you can take to learn more about what analytics are being used, how they function, and gain all of that knowledge for yourself. Also, we have a digital services team. And so just as I mentioned last week, we have 4 people who can help you with the tech side of things. They won't be able to advise you on business. They will not be able to tell you how to spend your money. What they will do is help you navigate the interface of whatever platform you're using. And just one last book as a teaser, Social Media Marketing 2019. So if you wanted to, again, do some reading and learn a little bit more, this covers Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and advertising guide for influencers in 2019 through 2020. So this information will be updated in the library pretty soon, but currently it is still relevant. So that is what I have to share, and I thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions related to this topic? Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening, tuning in today. Hopefully we'll see you next week, next Tuesday, same time, and have a great afternoon.